Let's get some more analysis now. We're joined by Stephen Dreyfuss, lawyer, former prosecutor, and former president of the International Association of Lawyers, who joins us from New York. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us once again here on France 24. The former US President Donald Trump has suggested we could see violence on a scale last seen on the 6th of January 2021. Do you think that's likely?
I don't think it's likely. I frankly hadn't heard him say it with that much detail. There have certainly been fears, and unlike on January 6th at the Capitol, where the police was extraordinarily unprepared for what happened, the New York Police Department is not taking any chances and has mobilized its forces in the event that something happens. Up to now, there have been some demonstrations, but only peaceful ones.
Okay, if the former president is charged, just in terms of the proceedings, what happens then?
Well, he will be allowed to surrender voluntarily, and there has already been close coordination between the Secret Service, who protects him as a former president, and the New York Police and the New York District Attorney to facilitate his presentation. In all likelihood, when the indictment is announced or he is notified of it, he will come with his lawyers to the district attorney's office. He will enter in a manner through a tunnel or underground in such a way that he won't be seen publicly. He will be fingerprinted. He will have his mugshot photograph taken, and he will formally be placed under arrest for that purpose. At that point, he will be taken, in all likelihood, immediately to a courtroom to be arraigned on the charge before a New York State judge, where he will no doubt plead not guilty and will no doubt be released without bail. That's what I anticipate happening.
This isn't by any means the only legal challenge that the former president faces, is it? But would you say that this Stormy Daniels case could end up being perhaps the most politically damaging for Donald Trump?
I don't think so. Frankly, it's the most trivial of all of the charges that he faces because it has nothing of the seriousness of the charge of attempting to tamper with the results of the presidential election in Georgia or the investigation about the unlawful retention of classified documents, or indeed...
But I phrase the question like that because so many Republicans, a sizable percentage, possibly more than 40% of Republicans, have said he shouldn't stand as the party's candidate if he's found guilty in this Stormy Daniels case. So that's the reasoning behind the question.
Well, I have not heard that statistic, and I don't know what the universe of people of whom 40% say that it might be. Generally, there has been an outcry from the Republicans in the Congress at the prospect of his being accused, because they're saying that this is a weaponization of the justice system and parroting the same sorts of criticisms that Trump has made. But I think from the point of view of the Democratic Party, it's pretty well known that President Biden and his advisors have always hoped that Trump would be the Republican nominee because they have confidence that they could again defeat him, as opposed to some younger Republican who might be a more effective candidate. So to the extent that that Trump portrays himself as a victim and that he is strengthened by this charge, it might paradoxically serve the interests of the Democrats in helping Trump get the nomination, which would make him the candidate that the Democrats prefer to meet in 2024.
Quite interesting looking at the Trump defense in this Stormy Daniels case. The defense argues that the hush money payments were handled without President Trump's involvement. What do you make of that defense?
Well, you should understand that paying hush money to keep something quiet is not a crime in the state of New York. The crime that he would be accused of is putting the payment on the books of his company as if it were a legal fee retainer paid to his lawyer, Michael Cohen, rather than booking it for what it was, a hush money payment. So it's really the falsification of the business records that is at issue here. And if Trump had wanted to do it straight, he could have done it straight, but he chose not to. The difference is that in the U.S. courts, one must prove the personal involvement of an individual in order for that individual to be convicted of a crime. So the issue here, as it is with all of Trump's affairs, is the extent to which they have proof that Trump personally directed or personally participated in the falsification of the records to hide the nature of this payment. One thing we do know, and he has admitted, he signed the checks to reimburse his lawyer who advanced the money to Stormy Daniels on Trump's behalf. Trump personally signed the checks to reimburse his lawyer. So at least at that point, he knew what this was all about. The question is whether they can prove that he had knowledge that the records of his business were being falsified to conceal this payment, and whether that was in an effort to help him in his presidential campaign in violation of the campaign finance laws.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. I'm afraid we're out of time. Stephen Dreyfuss, lawyer and former prosecutor, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.